Hello, hello, everyone. It is the Wednesday evening edition of Weather for Weather Geeks. We have another packed show this evening. Certainly more weather than I had time to talk about on the 6 o'clock news. I try to condense it down into 3 minutes the best I can on the news, but thankfully I have this outlet to talk for as long as I want. I'll try not to make this video too long, though. Don't want to bore you, but it's going to be kind of hard to be bored with this kind of a weather pattern, to be honest. Here's a look at the wind chills today, mostly in the single digits. This will seem tropical by tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon as a big change is on the way. We have wind chills above 0 in Ohio and Pennsylvania now, but look off to the west, 8 below in Chicago, and then look off well to the north and west, and it's in the 20s below 0 in terms of wind chills. International Falls, Fargo. Thankfully, we're not going to get that cold here, but the wind chills here, nothing to sneeze at over the next 24 hours. Whole slew of wind chill advisories stretching from the U.S.-Canadian border right down through parts of the Great Lakes and into eastern Ohio and western PA. This is a serious cold air mass. Our wind chill advisory goes into effect overnight and actually runs until Friday morning. Now, the wind will diminish some Thursday night and early Friday, but the air temperature will actually be colder. I think it'll be someplace close to 0 Friday morning. So it won't take much of a breeze to knock those wind chills back to 10 below Friday morning, as compared to tomorrow morning when the air temperature will be closer to 10, but the wind will be stronger. The net effect is that the wind chills will be pretty similar both mornings, and you'll see that here on our map. Wind chills are the numbers on the map. The box above my head has the air temperatures and the winds. So tomorrow, we're expecting wind chills by 3 in the morning already down to 6 to 10 below. And by the time a lot of people are up and getting ready for work, this is what the wind chill will be like. So, we don't make school closing decisions. We have nothing to do with that. We only report it. We run them on a crawl on TV, and we put them on the website and the app and that sort of thing. But we don't make the decisions. Individual school districts do that. But, I think with numbers like this, there'll be a lot of at least 2-hour delays tomorrow morning. And there might be some snow to contend with as well. I'll talk about that in a second. Right now we're just focused on temperatures. By mid-morning, still -5, -10 as an average wind chill. And in the afternoon, that's as warm as it'll feel all day. Probably about 2 below or 3 below on average. And again, I mentioned those wind chills Friday morning. Maybe not quite as harsh as Thursday morning, but still, if there is a little bit of a breeze, the wind chill will be pretty nasty Friday morning before finally we warm up to 19, 20 degrees by the end of the day Friday. It will be a heat wave. All right, showing this map all week, or this graphic, I should say. 2004 at Christmas time, we had a high of 13, and that's the last time we were at the level I think we'll be at tomorrow. Our forecast high is for 13 degrees, and it's been 12 years since we've had that in the month of December. We see temperatures like this with regularity, even in mild winters like last winter. We had some days with highs in the teens in January and February, but it doesn't happen as often in December, and certainly hasn't happened that often lately. Last year, the coldest high temperature in the month of December, 31. That's amazing. It was a remarkable December last year. All right, you might see your low tire pressure light kick on here over the next couple of days. As a reminder, for every 10 degrees the temperature drops, you lose 1 or 2 psi's off your tire pressure. So, the difference between 30 degrees and 0 can mean, 5, 6, 7 psi's. That's a pretty significant drop. So a lot of tire pressure lights probably will come on with this Arctic cold. All right, let's talk about snow. Right now, a Mondo lake effect band is just crushing the Buffalo area. I mean, this has just been awful for a few hours now, right at rush hour, unfortunately, around Buffalo and points to the east and getting over closer to Rochester. That's where the bad lake effect is right now. Closer to home, the lake effect hasn't really gotten organized yet. A couple of flurries, that's it. But expecting this to change as we go through the night. The Arctic front comes through, the wind direction starts to change, and you'll see that here on our high-resolution model. Starting to see that band slide south. And we've been talking a lot about the cold weather, and rightfully so, but really cold weather and things they treat the roads with sometimes is a bad combo. At least it's an ineffective combo. The road treatment isn't as effective when you get down into the single digits. So, even if there's just a dusting of fresh snow in spots tomorrow morning, it might be enough to cause things to be really slick for early on Thursday. Notice at 8 a.m., our model here, it's not going to get these bands exactly right, but it'll give you a sense as the flavor of things. There'll be fingers of snow coming down and perhaps penetrating down into parts of Mahoning County and northern Columbiana County. But as usual, the most numerous bands tomorrow morning through the afternoon will be to the north. Northern Trumbull, northern Mercer. Once you're up into Geauga County, where there's a lake effect snow warning, some places will get 8, 10, 12 inches. Same idea in northwest PA. In our viewing area, I think there could be a zone where places get 5, 6, 7, 8 inches. Mespo to Kinsman and over to Greenville and into northeastern parts of Mercer County as well. If you look closer to Champion and Warren and Newton Falls, heading over towards Vienna, Sharon, Mercer, you could get 3 or 4, maybe 5 inches. And then once you're down closer to the Mahoning-Trumbull border, closer to Austintown and Girard and Hubbard, an inch to maybe 2 or 3, and then, from Youngstown on south, coating to an inch should do it. Now, could someone in that gray area get 1.5 inches or 2 inches? I can't rule that out. But as a general rule, coating to an inch should do it for most of Mahoning and Columbiana County. Here's a look at the next system. This is not going to be lake effect. This is a massive, strong warm front heading our way. This is true Arctic air that's going to be in place, and it's hard to dislodge quickly true Arctic air. Arctic air really wants to just dig in its heels and hug the ground and not get dislodged all that easily. That's why I'm concerned about some ice early on Saturday. The first thing we're going to see, though, is snow. It's going to start Friday evening and into a lot of the overnight as well. Now, this particular model, the RPM model, is very aggressive in bringing in the warmth and already seeing some mixing on the model by 1 or 2 in the morning. I think this is too fast. I think the mixing is going to be more down in here at this point. But at some point Saturday, the snow and the mixed precipitation is going to change over to rain. It may not happen until 7 or 8 in the morning, maybe 9 o'clock even. But at some point it's going to happen, and we're going to get into the warm sector, and it's going to get into the 40s on Saturday, and it's going to be a windy day. But the big question for us is, when does that transition happen? I think it's most likely to be right around daybreak, or maybe just before daybreak, when we start seeing some freezing rain, maybe some sleet, but I'm most concerned about freezing rain. It would be bad news if we got 3, 4 inches of snow and then a layer of ice on top of it for anybody who wants to be traveling early on Saturday. Now, if you can hunker down and wait to run your errands until Saturday afternoon, everything should be mostly fine. We'll get into the 40s. Not everything, but a lot of the snow and slush on the ground will just melt. So early Saturday morning can be a tricky spot. Again, the steadiest of the snow Friday evening through maybe 3 or 4 in the morning before we start to see that transition over to rain by about mid-morning on Saturday. So impacts. The rain, not tremendously impactful because I don't think it'll ever be all that heavy. And actually, it's a good thing that it'll change to rain. I am concerned about moderate to high impacts for snow. I'm going to put out some numbers tomorrow for the snow accumulation, but this should be enough to shovel and plow pretty easily Friday night and early Saturday. And then I have moderate for ice. It depends on how long the ice lasts. Now, if it's a quickie, half an hour to an hour, or there's some freezing rain and it's 32, that's usually not much of a problem. But if we have a couple of hours where there's freezing rain and the temperature is more like 29 or 30, that could be a whole different ballgame. That could mean really treacherous conditions early on Saturday. So stay up on the latest forecast for Saturday morning. All right, that's all I got for you. We're going to change back to some snow showers Saturday night and early Sunday. Another shot of Arctic air Sunday through Tuesday. A day or two maybe where highs are in the upper teens, lower 20s. But after that, the pattern will change. About a week from right now, middle of next week, the pattern's going to change. It's going to be more tolerable. It's going to be milder. And that should continue right through Christmas into the new year even. Now, that doesn't mean there's going to be no cold weather, but it'll be a much more tolerable, milder pattern for holiday time between Christmas and New Year's, and even 5 or 6 days before Christmas. The pattern is going to change. So that's the way it looks in the longer range. 9 minutes, long enough. That's tonight's weather for Weather Geeks. Check out my forecast tonight, 21 News at 11. If you're more of a reader, if you've made it this far in the video, you're more of a video watcher. But hey, if you want to check out my blog post from this morning with more details on the winter threats, ericwfmj.com is where you can find that.